So I wanted to talk about this idea of a social contract in 40K. And I say Warhammer 40,000, but this also kind of applies to X-Wing miniatures, because these are two gaming systems where there is an influx of players that normally would not be wargamers. And yes, I consider X-Wing miniatures a war game. You know, yes, it's more beer and pretzels. It's light dice rolling, but there's some tactics there. There's some list building. There's, various ways to explore. And I feel like, look at these two systems compared to what I would say is hardcore wargaming. Like historicals, DBA, or Chain of Command, where it's almost like you get involved in that with a mentor, like someone sponsors you. I remember when I first started playing DBA with my Romans, I was playing Warhammer 40,000, so I was kind of like, hey, there's this whole thing called miniature wargaming out there. And a family friend introduced me to someone, much older than myself at the time, who was into historical wargaming. And he's like, it's invite only. All right, come on up. And we went to some like Legion Hall in Connecticut or something like that, and room full of guys playing Napoleonics. The wargaming table was 1-to-1. All the units painted, banners, unit markings, no unpainted models. No unpainted models anywhere in the room. No proxies. Everything was WYSIWYG. And just, rules and everything and dice were over on another side of the table. Nothing cluttered up the table. You could take pictures of this table and it looked like a movie set or something. And the introduction to that was kind of crazy, where you had someone taking you through what was expected, not only how the game was played, but a maturity level of not necessarily age, but how you were expected to conduct yourself on there. Compare that to 40K and X-Wing, where we have a wide variety of different hobbyists coming in. There are no real social rules. There is no real understanding. You just kind of go to a club or a shop, or you're with your friends and you play. And this is compounded a little bit by what I believe in the past 10 years or so, the stratification of instant mobile games and digital stuff and MMOs and online gaming, where it's all about you and you don't really care about other players, and it's all personal gratification. So you sit down to play a game of 40K and it's a new player. You don't know about their player background. You don't know where they're coming, what they're doing, and it can lead to a certain amount of tension in the game. So from my point of view, this is my idea of the social contract of 40K and what I try to keep in mind. So the first thing is, regardless of the age and experience of the player that I'm playing, not only is this a person, not only is this a human being, they're taking time out of their life to play a game with me. Maybe they're in a similar life situation to myself, where they're blowing off work and real life responsibilities to play a game. Maybe they're a little bit younger and they're playing 40K rather than working on their academics, right? But we're taking this time to play. So if you and I are sitting down to play 40K, I can't control your actions. I don't want to control your actions. I can influence them. I can guide them, but I can control and set the standard with how I conduct myself. I am in full control of myself. So I want to create the best possible gaming experience for you and I in this next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it's going to be. So the first thing is expectations. People feel cheated. Well, obviously, if you cheat and you get cheated, they feel cheated. But people feel cheated if they are out of control or if they get caught off guard. If I make a tactical mistake or I forget a rule of my army and then you DACA me and now I'm like, oh man, I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to lose the game. Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm a human being, but I caused that to myself. But if there's some unit that suddenly appears, or you swap something out, or, you've got some sort of unit of Marines, but then you're like, oh, actually they're proxies for Terminators, and you didn't tell me, or something crazy. If you spring something on me, that's going to piss me off, right? Because you feel cheated. There's knowledge that you didn't know ahead of time. So the first thing to having a good game is preliminary. Before we even start the game, let's make sure you and I are on the same page with what we're doing here. So the ways I do that is I say, hey, I'm playing Chaos. This is my list. Do you want to see it? I have it out there. Maybe they want to see the list. Maybe they don't. I say in a kind of non-confronting way, have you ever played Chaos before? Because I've got a lot of different units. I've got some new stuff. Do you want me to kind of tell you what I have? And maybe they say, I played Chaos all the time. Or maybe they say, look, what the heck is that? It's like a giant robotic space dog. Well, they're Mauler fiends. This is what they do. This is the stats. This is how they move and stuff. Put that information out there. Maybe the opponent is interested or not. Be transparent with everything. Personally, I don't play with proxies. But if I was going to play with proxies, I would ask my opponent's permission. Hey, I've got some proxied units. Enough time has passed that I can say this. I played this one gentleman, and once was enough. His Tau army. And you know who I'm talking about. You know, because you played it too. His Tau army, he has fire warriors that are on fire warrior legs that are just glued to a base. Those are fire warriors. I kid you not. He's got 50 or 60 of them. Fire warriors, base, legs, and a torso and a head. They are, whatever suits they're going to be. And then he's got fire warriors with arms, and they're going to be the sniper teams. And I'm like, what? First unbuilt, unpainted junk. You might as well rip up scraps of paper. And you're obnoxious about the whole thing. No way. You're wasting my time. You are wasting my time. No way. Now, this is also going up against, you should play a variety of opponents. You should try to play people. But I don't believe in proxies. If I was going to play proxies, then I would say, can I do this? Can I play this? But I want to put forward the best that I possibly can. Painted versus unpainted, I leave that debate for another time. Again, I can only share with you how I would expect to conduct myself. If you had an unpainted army, I would play you. I personally would prefer it to be painted. I'm being honest, but I can't control you. I can paint my army. I can say to you, hey, what about getting your army painted? You want me to help you paint it? I mean, we could sit down after the game, 30, 40 minutes. A lot of players in 40K bring, their paint stuff with them in a tackle box or an art box. I'll base coat some stuff. I'll help you with some stuff, right? And just offer that. Try to encourage moving people through the gates of painting. So we sit down and we see our units. Then I say, is there any type of mission you want to play? I mean, we can roll for it randomly, or, if there's something you really feel like playing, I put that ball in my opponent's court, literally, because I played so many different missions of 40K, so many different missions of every war game. I'll have fun playing anything. What do you feel like playing? If it's indecisive, I say, hey, let's roll for it. Just roll a D6. I let my opponent roll it, or a D8, D12, whatever it's going to be for the gaming system. Boom, we go through. Before we set up, and I believe this is important because this is where there's the potential for people to feel cheated because they feel something sprung on them. Terrain on the table. We set the table up, we agree on it. Then I ask them, how do you want to play terrain? WYSIWYG? Is it area terrain? Is it defined terrain? How do you want to play it? An example was a game where I played where we had a bunker, the Imperial bunker with the heavy bolters, tower or whatever. And the opponent's like, well, it's, WYSIWYG. Okay. So I'm running up there as soon as I can, and I'm getting in that fortification, and I'm rocking those heavy bolters. So I'm moving up. I'm playing my Black Templars, and they're like, wait. Fritz just gave us the order rather than running across the table to he wants us to go in this building and actually shoot from a distance. It was too good to pass up. And I wondered why my opponent wasn't going up there and grabbing it, especially since they had some fast-moving scout units to do that. Well, I get up there, I go to get in, and he's like, no, you can't go in there. We said WYSIWYG, and this is on a base. So therefore, under the rules, this is area terrain, and it's just, the height there, so you can't actually go into it. And I'm like, wait, what? I felt a little bit, right? Well, how would you feel? So we clear all that up ahead of time. Hey, can I go into that building? Is this a bunker? Is it area terrain? What's the dimensions of this forest? This building, it looks like it has 3 levels of ruins. Can you go on all 3 levels? Dispel all of that on it. Then we get into the game. Now, this is just my feeling on it because we're trying to create an environment where you and I are going to have a fun time. We're going to have some memorable moments on there. If my opponent forgets something, I will let them redo it or insert it, right? So if they're in the movement phase and they move all their units and then they go to shooting phase and they shoot something and then they say, oh, wait, I forgot to move that other unit. I'll say, okay, go ahead and move it, right? Now, I would not be incorrect if I said, no, we're into the shooting phase now, so you can't move. We're done. I see nothing wrong with that because that certainly is the rules of the game. But at the same time, I want to extend that courtesy to my opponent. If they move that unit, so that unit's out of range in this example, but then they move it, they're in range, they shoot, I lose my HQ, I lose the game, everybody runs off the table, whatever. Okay, that could happen, but what are the odds of that really happening? Hopefully at this point, my tactics are sophisticated enough that I can anticipate everything, or one kind of alpha deal breaker move isn't going to happen. Yes, it's a D6 system. It could happen, but I believe in extending that courtesy. So if you forget your psychics or you miscalculate something, all right, look, just get it in and make it happen. Let's just kind of do that. The final piece, and this is the most important piece, always finish the game out. 40K by its very nature is very swingy, so there are things like the Alpha Strike or building an Alpha Army where I try to break you on turn one. There are armies that you build where I don't care what the mission is, I'm just going to try and table you, and I select units to do that. A lot of different ways to play 40K. So at some point, a lot of games, it could go either way, turn by turn. Then there's some games by turn 2 or 3, it's pretty much over, I've lost. Always play the game out for 2 reasons. One, it's a swingy Games Workshop D6 based game. All it takes is for your opponent to have one run of bad dice, and if you're in a position to capitalize on that, and we'll talk about that in the next podcast, you could be right back in the game. Where if you gave up, if you quit, that game's over. You don't have that possibility to do that. So always play it out because the swing might return. But second, goes back to the first point, this social contract. You and I are sitting down to play a game. So you know what? I'm losing. I'm getting hammered. Fritz, no likey. I'm not happy about it. But we're going to play it out to the end. Imagine you're those Space Marines. If I'm my Black Templars and they've been told to go up there and put those heretics to the chain sword and the power sword, they're going to go do that. They're not going to say, oh, well, we took losses. We can't win this mission. No, they're going to do it down to the last Marine. So I will always play it out. Play that narrative out. Enjoy the narrative out. Let your opponent have fun blasting you off the table. Let them have their day. Let them have their moment. You're there with the social contract. Don't quit. Don't be like, oh, turn 3, I've analyzed it, I can't win, I'm out. Pack up your models. I've seen it. And that kind of gets me, I'm getting pumped here, I'm getting a little excited here, because that's not fair, right? Let your opponent have the fun. Let them blast you off the table. If anything, it'll create a little bit of rivalry because now I got to get some revenge on you, right? Now we got to play again, and I got to punish you, and I got to take you out for that, right? Back and forth. Always play the game out to the end. Show that respect. So in my opinion, I think this etiquette in 40K is important because, and I don't mean it to sound draconian with the rules and enforcing it. I believe in a very light way. Again, I can try to push these forward. This is how I can conduct myself. Players, you will conduct yourself how you want. But if we can all kind of create that inclusiveness and this warmth of the gaming community, whatever it is, that's important. And I will share kind of one example outside, universe far, far away, galaxy far, far away, that I kind of realized this. I enjoy practicing the martial arts, and the martial arts school that I studied, what I realized was when I'm speaking to someone, if they have an interest in the martial arts, they don't know anything about the martial arts. They find out I practice martial arts, they inquire about the school that I study, how I conduct myself, how I answer their questions, no matter how good, bad, absurd, whatever they're going to be, the entire the headmaster of my art and the Shihan and the top teachers and everything like that, Their opinions don't mean anything to this person. I'm the direct link to that. So how I conduct myself is going to reflect on the martial arts school that I study. If I'm a jerk, if I'm dismissive, or I have false humility or whatever, they're going to be like, that martial arts stinks because look, this guy stinks. And that was a powerful responsibility that I realized. And I realized that in 40K. Someone sees 40K, they walk into the club, they don't know what it is. If they walk up to your table, they're going to be like, and you're like, hey, jerk, what's going on? I'm trying to play a game here. Can you get out of here? You have now ruined their, because they're not going to be like, that's just one jerk. They're going to be like, that's how all these 40K players are. That's how 40K is. It's not a good community. It's not it's not inviting. It's not, respectful. That's how I feel, and that's where I see on it. It's a powerful, powerful motivator on there to be an ambassador for our community, because the more players we get in, the more dice I'm going to roll, the more cornate glory I'm going to get, and the greater it's going to be the next 10, 20 years out there. This podcast is already way too long, but I wanted to push that up there. Gaming etiquette, dice etiquette, 40K etiquette, and kind of push that health to our community. Certainly this would apply to any war game and how you approach it.